Welcome to my one-shot Ahri guide. This comp is all about utilizing CC and positioning to group up all the enemies and destroy them with a single ult from Ahri. In this guide I will go over the build, what items you make, how to play the early, mid and late game, as well as going over some positioning tips. The build is very flexible, but most of the time you run vanguards, mystics, dusks and spirits. It depends a lot on what chosen you get, as well as what the game gives you. The best build you can get here is this. Here you have 4 vanguards and 4 mystics with the vanguard chosen. Since Ahri is all your damage here, it requires you to have a good frontline, as well as good items for Ahri. It's all about stalling to let Ahri cast 2 or more times here. The same goes if you get a mystic chosen. It is a bit weaker here as we take out Shen for Hecarim, but as long as you have good frontline items and Ahri items, you should do fine. Next up is 4 spirits. Here your frontline is a bit weaker, but you have more damage. Kindred can sometimes also clean up the units that Ahri did not one-shot. Next up is Dusk chosen. Here Ribbon can act as a secondary carry and frontliner. She will often clean up the units Ahri did not one-shot. Lastly, we have a build you can run if your Ahri items aren't the best and you need more damage. So here Kayn acts as a secondary carry to clean up. This can also work with Set. The best chosens you can get are Vanguard Sejuani, Aatrox or Thresh, any Mystic chosen, any Ahri chosen, and any Spirit chosen. Also, Dusk, Cassiopeia, Ribbon or Thresh can also work. I will go over how you can adjust the build later, as well as going over what you add in at level 9 later in the video. Ahri is our primary carry in this build, so we prioritize making items for her. The only core item for Ahri is GA. This is because she can start casting, and when she dies, it still goes through while she's reviving in GA. Here, her second and third item want to be a combination of either Jewel Gauntlet and IE, Jewel Gauntlet and Death Cap, or Jewel Gauntlet and Jewel Gauntlet. Either of these 3 combinations are fine. There is a lot of math behind it, so I will link some more detailed explanations in the description. IE Jewel Gauntlet has more consistent damage, as you always get 100% critical strike chance. This allows you to not lose fights because Ahri didn't crit, but it also doesn't allow you to win fights simply because Ahri crit and did a ton of damage. With double Jewel Gauntlet, you either crit and do a boatload of damage, or you don't crit and do a mediocre amount. Although you're more likely to crit than not to crit, it doesn't happen all the time. So when you don't crit, you lose the fight in some cases. Death Cap Jewel Gauntlet is the middle ground. Here the crit will hit harder than IE Jewel Gauntlet, but your non-crit will do less damage than double Jewel Gauntlet. Some other items that can work on Ahri are Spirit Resurgence, Blue Buff, Rage Blade, Giant Slayer, and Hand of Justice. Like I mentioned earlier, frontline items are incredibly important in this build. You want to put these on Sejuani. Frontline items that work on her are Bramble Vest, Dragon Claw, Stone Plate, Redemption, Shroud, and Sunfire Cape. If you get a spatula, the best ones you can make are either Vanguard Spat for a frontliner or Dusk Spat on Ahri. The carousel priority for this comp is Glove, Chain, Rod, then Sword. During stage 1, you want to buy units that you can 2-star and that synergize well together. It's all about making the best opener for stage 2 here. The best openers for this comp are Cultists with TF as the item carrier for Ahri, Warlords with Nidalee as the item carrier. This can also work with either 2 Vanguard or 2 Keeper. 3 Mage with Annie as the item carrier for both Frontline and Ahri. There aren't that many great item carriers for AP items in the early game. Most of the good ones are 3-cost units like Veigar or Kindred, but you can't consistently hit those in the early game. During the early game, you want to make items if you have 4 or more components. Great items to slam in the early game with this comp is Blue Buff, Chalice, GA, Jewel Gauntlet, Death Cap, and Redemption. During the early game, you either want to play aggressive for a win streak, or play more passive to build up a big economy. If you want to learn more about economy management, check out my guide where I go in depth on the subject. At the Krugs round, you should have a bit more information about which comp you're going for. So here you should have at least a GA, Death Cap, or a Jewel Gauntlet if you want to play Ahri. The units you have don't matter too much since the majority of our endgame comp are 3-cost and 4-costs. Because of this, we also want to avoid rolling at level 6. But if you are really weak, typically 70 HP or lower, and lose streaking, consider rolling a bit on stage 3 too. During the mid-game, we need a mid-game carry that can utilize the items that we have made well. Some of the better mid-game boards are Kindred carry. Here your frontline is preferably vanguards, but brawlers and keepers can also work. 2 assassins with either Katarina or Akali as the carry. Put items on whichever is 2-starred. If both or neither are 2-starred, then know that Akali is more of a consistent carry, while Katarina can blow up an entire team or not even kill a single unit in a fight. 3 mage with either Veigar or Annie as the carry. The other units can yet again be any frontline units like vanguards, keepers, and brawlers. I want to add that you can pretty much still run anything in the mid game. These boards are just mid game comps you can aim for if you're unfamiliar with how to play the mid game. Scouting is also very important in the mid game. When scouting, you're looking to see how other players are positioned, what items and synergies they have, as well as what comp they're going. If you see that there are a lot of brawler players, cultist players, or people going for 3-stars, then Giant Slayer will be a better option. If you see that there are no assassins in the lobby, then maybe QSS or Trapclaw can be a replacement for GA. There are a lot of comps that run Ahri in the current meta due to the strength of the spirit trait. So if you see a lot of people who want Ahri, consider pivoting to another comp like Riven carry in either Dusk or a cultist comp, and sometimes pivoting to a Veigar comp can also work. At stage 4-1 or 4-2, depending on your HP, you want to roll down for your comp. Sometimes it's correct to wait and roll at level 8 instead, if you're still high HP, typically 70 or more, and you're win streaking. To be stable at level 7, you typically need half your board 2-star, a relevant chosen, as well as 1 Ahri with good items. Going level 8 with this comp is somewhat important, to not only get better rolling odds to hit forecasts, but you also get a decent chance at hitting legendaries. Some of the better ones you can add in are Azir from our frontline and utility, Set, Kayn, or Yone to be cleanup carries, or Lee Sin if there's an unkillable unit on the board. After you have stabilized at level 8, you want to go level 9. This does not happen in most of my games when I'm playing this comp, as you need a lot of gold to 2-star all your units, and level 9 is very expensive. You go level 9 between stage 6-1 and 6-5. This will depend on the amount of money you have. In some extreme cases where you didn't roll at level 8, you can go 9 on 5-5, but this is only done when you basically win streak throughout the entire game. At level 9 you add in another legendary to finish off a synergy, like 4 Vanguard, 4 Mystic, or 4 Spirits. Since there are few players left at this point in the game, make sure to add in some things that could counter the other players. If you didn't hit Ahri on your roll down, some good units that can replace her is Kindred, Set, Kayn, Akali, and Katarina can also work. First, I'll go over general positioning for this comp, then I will go over some more in-depth examples. General positioning looks like this. Here we have Sejuani taking most of the aggro. This is because we're putting tank items on her, and the earlier she casts, the more value the ultimate gets. Next to her is Aatrox. He will pull in 2 units, and we want these to be in range of the Sejuani ult. Next to him is Cassiopeia. We put her in the front line as she can reach the enemy backline from there. We also don't want her to take as much aggro as she's a bit squishy, so we have a unit on either side of her. Ahri is on the second row cubby. Here she can take a bit of splash damage to ult quicker while simultaneously staying safe from assassins. But be careful, as she can get CC'd in this spot by units like Aurelia. Cillian is in the corner so he can stay safe and cast his ultimate. Thresh and Yuumi are hugging Cillian to keep him safe from assassins. Moving on to some more in-depth positioning examples. Against the first guy, we want to spread out a bit so that enemy Ahri doesn't get insane value from her ultimate. Cassiopeia is positioned so that she stuns both Ahri and Veigar. Sejuani is positioned so that the entire enemy team are in range of her stun. Aatrox is positioned so that he pulls in TF and Ahri. Shen is positioned so that he dashes past Cassiopeia and makes her ult the wrong way. Yuumi is positioned so that she dashes to either Zilean or Ahri depending on who has the lowest health. Zilean and Ahri are in the backline so Yuumi can dash to them and so that they are spread out from the rest of the team. Against the second guy, we want Shen to dash through Thresh and taunt Cassiopeia so that she ults the wrong way. Cassiopeia is positioned so that she can stun the Jhin. Sejuani is positioned so that all the enemies are in her ultimate range. Aatrox is positioned so that he grabs Jhin. Yuumi is positioned so that she dashes to Ahri. Against the third guy, we want Ahri and Zilean on the opposite side of Talon. Aatrox is positioned so that he can pull in Morgana. Cassiopeia is positioned so that she can ult Morgana. Yuumi and Thresh are Talon bait. Shen is positioned so that Yone ults in the wrong direction. Ahri is positioned so that she stays out of range from the Lux ultimate. Against the fourth guy, we want Sejuani to deal with Yasuo. We want Cassiopeia to be targeting Jax. This way, she'll stun Yasuo when he walks up. Aatrox is positioned close to Sejuani, but has to be one to the right to make sure Irelia doesn't disarm the Cassiopeia. Ahri is positioned so that she is the farthest away unit from Yuumi. So to sum up, utilize the Aatrox-Sejuani combo, as well as utilizing Cassiopeia's ability to stun the backline. These are the most important CC combos in this build, and is what makes it successful. Thank you so much for watching the video. If you learned something, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. If you got any questions, I will answer them in the comments below. And if you want to get better at TFT, join the Discord. We got over 1,000 other players there who are hungry to climb. And if you want to get coached by me, the information is over on the Discord server as well. So take care and see you in the next video.